Well, a very good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar, Science Projects with Book Creator. Very warm welcome to everybody. So we're just going to do a few introductions. So my name is Tim Lings and I'm Director of IT here at Heronsgate Primary School. And I'm joined by...
Hi, I'm Naomi Hodgson. I'm a reception teacher and science coordinator at Heronsgate.
Fantastic. So she's here with her science knowledge as well as her IT brain. So, you know, she's the one to watch. So Heronsgate Primary School, we host this webinar today. So we're based in South East London, Woolwich and Thamesmead. We've got 2 campuses. We're also an EdTech demonstrator school. So the EdTech demonstrators program is a network of schools and colleges across England who exhibit effective practice in the use of technology. And the program offers peer-to-peer support on the effective use of technology, including remote education. So this is a DFE funded program. There's about 40 or so demonstrators now in England. The DFE keep adding more and more all the time. And the aim is to provide a way to support schools in making use of technology, particularly with the looming threat of another lockdown. What are you going to do with remote education? Now's your chance. So if you'd like some support from the EdTech Demonstrator Programme, visit this link, edtech-demonstrator.lgfl.net. You can quickly fill in a registration form there and they will then be in touch with you. And if you particularly want support from Heronsgate, do just pop that in there when you register. But I won't be offended if you get support from someone else who might better suit your requirements. But there we go. And this is a Greenwich Apple Regional Training Centre webinar. So we are part of the Apple Regional Training Centre network across the UK and Ireland. So the aim of the regional training centres is to build skills and confidence in using Apple technology inside and outside the classroom. We're a community that share best practice and inspire excellence through teaching with Apple technology. And there's a website, you can find out a bit more about us there. And there's actually a website just being released that will let you see courses from across the UK because they're all online now, so you can basically jump in anywhere you like. So today, what we're doing, we've done some welcome and introductions. So we're going to have a little think, why science on iPad? Have a look at Book Creator and then a live demo where anything might happen. I'm serious. And then a chance for some Q&A. So, but before we do that, let me just run you through Zoom. So there's a little Q&A button. Got any questions? Click there, type it in, and we will try and return to that. At some points, we're going to make use of a little chat box. There's a chance for everyone to share together. There's also a raise hand button, digitally putting your hand up. Again, we're going to return to that later, but those are just some of the controls you might need. So we're going to start off with a fun little poll, which is, how is science currently recorded in your school? And I'm going to allow Naomi to vote as well. Okay, so a little poll should be appearing on your screen. Let's say we've got a minute to answer, so it should be there. Do just tap the button. Great, we've had 1 vote so far.
That could be me.
Oh, yes, they're starting to come in now. There's quite a few on the list to read through. Oh, fantastic. Another 30 seconds to go. Lovely. Nearly half of you have voted. Brilliant. A few more seconds just to get everyone say. Lovely. Okay, I think that's everyone who's going to vote. I'm just going to end the poll now and I'm going to share those results. So hopefully you can see all the results. So the most popular answer was worksheets. It's a classic, but possibly there is more that could be done in science lessons. Nebi, do you want to talk about the big book for the whole class? What did that mean?
So I've been on quite a few different networking events and a lot of schools seem to be sort of veering away from the worksheet idea and doing a big whole class book. So it's a lot more practical work, and then the teacher is recording children's thoughts and opinions on post-it notes and then sticking it into one communal class book, along with taking photos of experiments and things rather than doing 30 photos, sticking it into 30 individual books. And they're making sure that it's shared within the class and that's always out. It seems to be having positive feedback from people who I've spoken to, and it's quite interesting just to see that when they've done that, the teachers have found that they've actually had more time to do science learning. and children have been more engaged because there hasn't been that sort of rush at the end to, oh my goodness, we haven't done the worksheet, quick, let's go, stick it in, and the learning sort of gets lost a bit. So it's something to think about, I think.
It's always the challenge of how do you emphasize on the learning, and if you've got to evidence the learning, that sometimes can stop the learning even happening, which seems crazy. Okay, we're now going to move into a little chat. So if you open up the little chat screen, got a couple of questions here. Do you use any technology in science lessons? What works? What doesn't work? Fantastic. So if you're able to just post a few thoughts in there, maybe I'll give you a minute or so while I have a little sup of water. Thank you, Gillian. So data loggers. So you can, if you share it with everybody, then people can read as well. So yeah, data loggers, that's a good thing to use a bit of technology in science.
It can be just as simple as, is someone in charge of taking a photo? Do the children take photos of their own work, or is it a teacher who does that and then sticks in? Yeah.
Heather's sharing that iPads to take pictures, record videos, etc. Yep. It's handy, the camera. So lots of cameras. Yeah. It's a good way to capture what's going on in science. Definitely, it's kind of practical. Brilliant.
I like the idea of the pic collage.
Yeah. So someone else has just said that iPads for photos, pic collage to record them together. If you're posting a comment, you can click on the little button and do it, share to panelists and attendees, then everyone gets to see it. But fantastic. Okay, so we're going to move on now to answering the question, why science on iPad? And I'm going to tell you a little story. So back in 2016, we had the enormous privilege of going one-to-one iPad, so across all of Key Stage 2 with about 450 kids getting iPads each, which was fantastic. And the science lead at that time, she didn't look anything like that. She had the kind of brainwave of, why don't we do all of science learning on the iPads? So the idea was that we would basically get rid of exercise books, and instead we would use the app Book Creator as a way of creating digital text instead. So the idea was that it's a way that you can easily add video, images, and text all together. The iPad is used to capture that learning, which, even though it's digital, it actually helps make that lessons more practical, because you haven't got to worry about, oh, I've done this great experiment driving cars down a ramp, oh, now I've got to sit and draw it, or I've got to sit and fill in a worksheet about it. But rather, you can just take a slow-mo video of that car going down the ramp, crossing that finish line, or whatever you're looking at, is to really capture that learning and help children really look. So it requires students to be a bit more creative, collating their learning together into one book per topic. So here we've got Bloom's revised taxonomy, which I'm sure you will have come across. And the idea is that creativity is at the top, that actually if you have to kind of synthesize all the stuff you've learned into making something new, then it requires all the other skills. So if you're going to tell the story of what you learned in your lesson by drawing all those things together in a book, you've got to understand it, you've got to kind of analyze what's gone on, kind of remember it a bit more, which is all good. So it is sometimes a challenge for certain children to know how to kind of really present that, but it's definitely worth it. So there are kind of 4 elements that you might see in these books. So I'm just going to show you a few examples to kind of help you get a feel of what's possible. So
I'm just going to jump in there because Liz has asked a good question, Tim, about whether children are using video to capture the learning on focusing what they've done. And I think it's been a mix. When the children were first introduced to the iPads, it was more of a blog of, look what I'm doing in the classroom, and here's my friend and he's doing that. But working with the children, you sort of focus them on the learning and you sort of guide them, and as they progress with the use of the iPad, they become more competent at recording what is actually important to the learning at that point. So it's about training the children as well.
Yeah, and so in that way, that the creativity is not the the fact they're having to make these books is not kind of an automatic process. That actually involves thinking, you know, what part of this is important? What, you know, if I just video the whole lesson or my whole experiment, well, that's what have you actually learned? Because you've got to add some text to explain it, or maybe a voice note, etc. So this is just a little screenshot of Book Creator. It possibly doesn't quite look like that still, but you can see how all these different elements are things you can add onto your digital text. So photography, here is a year 6 book all about light. So there's a little front cover of their topic on light, and they had a whole sequence of practical activities. So asking questions. So the science leader at that point made these kind of challenge cards. This one's all about shadows, and the students recorded some voice notes with their thoughts. But here you can really see how if it's about light, they can take a picture of that, and that's a chance to remember what they did in the next lesson, and as a way of showing their kind of thoughts about that whole process. So I'm sure there's lots of things in science where taking a photo is just a great way of really seeing that. Here is an example of some video. So this was from Space in the Solar System. So because these videos, this webinar is going to end up on YouTube, I've not included any kids in it. So this is a part of a video that was made in clips, where basically the experiment was all about, can you chuck an egg out of a window and not let it smash, like Tim Peake, the extronaut re-entering. So you're kind of having to make a re-entry system and parachutes and things like that. But it was all recorded using the iPads and edited together with clips. So there's a little part of that little video.
Come on, it's about to launch. 3, 2, 1, go!
A bit of slow-mo video there.
Oh, please, egg, don't crack, don't crack. Yay, it didn't crack.
And I mean, in a sense, that's just a video of the most fun part of the lesson. But actually, you get to really capture it. They can watch that back and see how it's fallen, how well it's done. And again, it just means that these lessons can be just that little bit more interactive and practical, because you know how you're going to record that.
It's really good watching it back, because then they can go and make their annotations and actually think about it as well, and not forget what they've done.
Definitely. So here we've got another year 6 book. This was all about the circulatory system, where they actually did dissect a lamb's heart. Good times. But as part of the unit, they actually, one of the activities was to tell a story of the journey of blood through the heart. So this isn't actually, strictly speaking, Book Creator. This is a little video that was made using Explain Everything, but they then put the video into the book, and it's just a great video. So I'm just going to play it, but it does involve some drawing.
This is the journey of blood. First, deoxygenated blood travels through the both vena cavas through to the right atrium. Then the blood goes through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. Then it goes into the pulmonary arteries, and now the deoxygenated blood will travel to the lungs to collect oxygen.
I mean, that kid's got it, let's be honest. That's why I love showing that video. But you can see that all these kind of multimedia ways you can use to kind of capture what they've learned, because yeah, you can totally see that kid has got it and he's able to explain it. And in a sense, there's no other real way of explaining that apart from doing it in that way. And last of all, you've got sound. So if you're doing a unit on sound, always handy to record that. So this is a little experiment where they've basically gone around the school and recorded what it sounds like in the parts. So nursery versus the PE cupboard. So let's find out.
What I heard in the PE cupboard was silence, except the breathing from us and our talking for our voice notes. In a nursery, people were playing, talking, and shouting. You have 1 minute. It was very noisy. They also had lots of instruments.
I mean, you can hear that they're being busy told off in the nursery in the background. But in a sense, they could you know, that's a really great practical activity to do, to go and kind of listen. But the fact that the iPad can be used to record that sound and then they can play it back means they can, you know, was it actually much quieter? Well, I can hear it back and compare the two. And you've got the students' kind of reflections on that, but it's a way that you can have a real insight into the learning process of the child, not the outcome. Like they could have just written, we went to the PE cupboard and we listened to the sound. It was quiet, you know, but actually we can actually hear what they heard and how it was quiet. Yeah, it's good. So we're now going to have a go at a live demo. So on this iPad, I have got some photos here. So Naomi's got a little science experiment. Maybe you want to talk us through these pictures. What am I looking at here?
So the science experiment is about making a simple circuit and then finding out what is a conductor and what isn't. So there's the different elements that you will need to conduct the experiment. So there's pictures of the individual things of the bulb, the battery pack, and the crocodile clips. And then I took a sequence of different pictures of trying out different things in different ways. So there's the crocodile clips hooked to the light bulb that then goes round to a paper clip and back to the battery pack.
Oh, that one's a
and then rubber band,
tin foil.
Piece of tin foil, 2 bulbs, because I was intrigued. Will it work with 2 bulbs? There's the paper clip.
And the parts of the process, and there's just
parts of the process.
Great. Okay, so I've got an idea of this book. So feel free, Naomi, to talk me through how. So, opening up Book Creator, when you first start, you can have a go at the short tutorial, Getting Started, or you can hit the huge great big button that says New Book. So this is what's quite good about Book Creator, is it's very straightforward. There's only so many buttons. So you can either choose a fun comic strip or just a normal book shape. I think I'm going to go for landscape. Why not? So it just creates a landscape book, and you can see here at the top it says cover, because this is the front cover, and there's a little arrow on the right which will take us to page 2, etc. You can just keep going through. So you're kind of working on it in book form, and then to add stuff you just tap the add button. So as it's the front cover, we need a title. I'm going to add some text, and let's call this other topic electricity. Lovely. Now that looks a bit boring, so we're going to tap the I button, which probably stands for inspector, but someone once said it's I for improve, and I always like that, so I'm going to tap that. We can make the text a little bit bigger, we can make it centered, we can change the font to something completely wacky and outlandish. Always helpful to teach kids you can go for wacky for titles, but you know, text needs to be readable. Here we go, electricity. That's looking better already. So if I tap on the background, so I'm not selected, if I tap the I can then change the background. So we could have some patterns. That's a bit boring. Textures. I'm looking for something a bit wacky. Oh, a border. These are nice. None of them really shout electricity. Oh, that one does. Look at that already. So it's coming together. Electricity. And then I might write my name at the bottom. So I'm going to put text by Mr. Lins. It's a bit. And then I might do a little drawing of some electricity, my idea of what electricity might look like. So I can tap on the pen tool. You basically can just draw with your finger, or an Apple Pencil should you have one. So you can change the thickness. There's even, this is where it gets really exciting, an auto pen, where you literally can draw something and it tries to guess what on earth you've drawn. Didn't have a guess. Yes, look,
It's got it at the top.
Amazing. Maybe I could draw a light bulb. Bing. There's some serious magic going on with this, to be honest. Oh, what have I done? Okay. So I probably should have changed the color before I did that. But there we go. So you can add some cool little graphics there. So if you're even drawing with a mouse, so if there's a web version of Book Creator, so if you're drawing with a mouse, you're not going to get very far, but it can turn into something. But I might just double tap to carry on drawing. I'm just going to, you know, make these a bit more pretty with some.
And it's something like the children enjoy doing as well. It's their individuality to the front book. It always creates quite a lot of excitement when they get to do that.
It's always good, all good. And then a little bit of a blue electric. Yeah, I'm clearly getting carried away here. Here we've got my lovely front colour, Electricity by Mr. Lings. Great. So we've got our experiment. Maybe we could have a bit of text to explain what we're going on. So we are trying to find out, oh, if Mr. Lings can type, find out what materials conduct electricity. And at this point, that's just way too big. Maybe I'll make it a bit smaller, but I might just change the font so we can actually read it. That's still a bit big, isn't it? So you can just go to town with all this stuff. Good, and then I'm going to keep, so at this point I can tap photos and then I can pull up those photos that I've taken. So I'll add a nice battery. So it's a bit big, so I'm going to tap on this blue dot in the corner to kind of resize it. There isn't a way to kind of crop within Book Creator, so you have to do that first of all in the Photos app, which maybe I'll do right now. So I'm just going to tap on that again, tap and hold and cut that. Oh, hello, thank you. So I'm going to go to the Photos app and I'm going to do a bit of editing here. I'm going to tap the edit button and then we've got a crop button here. So I'm just going to crop my photo ready for Book Creator. Lovely. And then maybe I'll do the same with that battery one. Not delete. Here we go. Edit. So I've got a nice little photo here. So I've got some of my, I think that photo is fine. Back to Book Creator. So I'm going to add those 3 photos. Just crop them. So that's a bit better. And then we've got battery. And let's add again some cables, but not cables, they are wires. Is there a technical term for them?
Crocodile clips.
Crocodile, they're crocodile clips, yeah, okay, great. So I'm just gonna, maybe I'll do some drawing at this point. Different colors, let's go for. Bulb, and then we've got, it's not going to be able to see that, green next to battery. Beautiful handwriting, as you can tell. And let's go for a nice red for. Crocodile clips, look at that. Lovely. So here's my book so far, it's coming together. And then maybe I'm going to make a new page. So on this page, I'm going to show this picture. And I'm then going to capture my thoughts with a little video. Let's try that. Maybe I'm not. I'm going to just add a little title here as well. A completed circuit. Here we go. And maybe I'll make that just a little bit bigger. Wider. So here we go. So I'm perhaps going to capture my thoughts before the experiment. Maybe I'll do that as a video. So I'm going to tap camera and I'm going to tap video. And then I'm going to turn it around so you can see me. Hello, everybody. This is completely meta. It's got me. I'm going to record saying, now I wonder what materials will conduct electricity as they flow around the circuit. Not the most enlightening scientific thoughts, but you know, you could get your students to predict what they think will work, what they think won't work. And I'm going to keep going with my book. So I'm going to add another bit of text at the top here. I'm going to lovely. So again, with students, you'd have to kind of do this more step by step. I'm basically just demoing the process for you, but you'd have to teach each of these elements as you go through. Any top tips on that, Naomi?
I think letting the children have time to have a go. So doing a bit of pre-teaching with Book Creator is always good. In the science lessons, we let them do the front cover, get all that creativity out of the way, and then do the actual science learning, and then make sure you leave yourself enough time at the end. So building in time to model and do a sort of step by step. So I normally do it with everybody's going to do the first page of your book. What was the objective today? So put in the title of, I was trying, the learning intention, get them all to do that. And then it's good to set sort of some boundaries whilst they're getting to the hang of things. So I'd like a picture, a comment, and some annotation so that they get used to each feature. And then as you go on, you can let them have more of a free reign of recording in the way that suits them better. I know for my EAL learners, they did a lot more voice recording and videos because that helped them more. And I've got, you know, there's been some children who just want to type away for days on end, and that's fine because they're still putting the learning down.
So yeah, in a sense, I kind of know how to lay out what I'm doing because as a grown-up, would have some ideas. But as students, you've got to teach them, you know, on this page, to put a title, how they might lay things out, and then as they kind of progress through the school, they kind of grow more confident with the software, and then can kind of create their own style, and you really get to see the way they're displaying and showing their learning.
I normally make a book alongside the children, so I talk through what I'm doing. I'm making my front page like this, putting my title at the top so everybody knows what it is, then a picture so it helps people, and then I'm going to annotate what the drawing represents. And I think that's good for the children because they can look back, and if they're really stuck, they can see, oh well, at worst they'll copy my layout and ideas, but at best they've got more of an understanding of why you're doing things in a certain way.
So I'm going to add some sound here, so my little thoughts. So when you add sound, really simple big red button. When I connected up the rubber band, the light bulb didn't go on, so I don't think it was conducting the electricity. Yep, I'll use that recording. And there we've got a little button. You can even make the button bigger. Look at that, rubber band. So there's my thoughts. So maybe I'll do one more page. Let's add one that works. Let's have the tin foil. Here we go. And I'm going to write tin foil, and then I'm going to add my little emoji. Lovely. Thumbs up, that worked. Add a recording. When I connected up the tin foil, the light bulb did turn on, so it must be conducting electricity, but it wasn't really bright. There you go, there's another one of my thoughts. Good, so I think my book is done. And at this point, you can play your book. So if you tap the play button at the top right, it literally gives you kind of a preview of the book. So you can kind of swipe through, see my beautiful front cover. You can tap on that little video.
Now I wonder what
etc. Oh, my voice.
When I connected up the
and so on. You don't want to get too bored of the sound of my voice. There's also a nice feature at the top which says read to me, which gives you a lovely robotic voice version.
Completed circuit.
Now I wonder.
But that's quite nice. If you had a lot of text, you can get the book to read the student's work, which could be an interesting starting point if you perhaps provided the text for students and they couldn't read it themselves, but it's just, there's lots of options there. Now, when you're done, there's a big, huge square with an arrow button, the share arrow, or the share-o, apparently. So you've got some options for exporting these. You can export it as an EPUB. So EPUB is basically an electronic book format. So all your videos and audio will be embedded in the document, and you can open it in the Books app. And you can also reopen them again in Book Creator and carry on working. So EPUB is kind of the default format. You've got PDF, which is good for sharing. It basically flattens the whole thing out, which could be useful because if it's got loads of video, it might take a while longer to load, but it's a good way to kind of flatten it out. And if you're giving some feedback, you can annotate your PDF. You can export it as a video, so you can, it basically just goes through each page and records it as a video. And then you can publish it online if you have a teacher account. So Book Creator actually can all be done online. So if you're on Chromebooks, etc., it works there. So if I show you EPUB, it then suggests what do you want to do, and one of the options is copy to books. So it takes my beautiful book and it opens it up in the Books app. reading now, Electricity by Mr. Lings. There it is, look at that amazing book. Finish reading. So that's all in Book Creator, and there it's in my library. So it's just quite nice for kids that they can actually publish their books to the Books app, and it can just be there. It's amazing. Just before we finish, there's a few other options. So when we've kind of explored all of those, but there's more. So you can add shapes, you can add files. So if you have a document from somewhere else, you can actually import that in there. You can add maps, and you can even web embed stuff. So if you have a website or some kind of web resource, you can also embed it. So it's got a lot of, it's quite simple to use, but there's a lot of complexity.
Just had a question in about whether we use book per activity, lesson or unit. So each unit is a new book, and normally each lesson is a new page or double page spread, so that by the end of the unit it's an entire book and follows the children's learning. So hopefully that answers that one.
So, we've got enough devices that really works, but you might decide, you know what, we just got this one lesson that we want to just capture in a book, and if you perhaps give a whole afternoon to it, you could do a sequence of activities and get that in one book. Perhaps you're not going to get the iPads for another week or whatever. So it's, you know, it depends on what capacity you have. So here, when I go back to all books, it's still called a new book by an other author. If I just tap on it there, I can change the title to by. It's always important to get them to change that. They often forget, and you get loads of like and other books as you share them. There's also a share button there, same as before. And in this book, you can import books, delete books, combine books, all kinds of options. But that's basically Book Creator. It's pretty powerful. There's a lot going on, but it is a good app. So I'm going to go back to my slides, and just a few little pointers to think about. So the first thing is just think about device access. So if they might use Book Creator for loads of science lessons, do you have enough devices? But you can be, you can do a lot with creative timetabling. So for a couple of years, Key Stage 1 didn't have devices each, but they just, you know, fought over iPads, and they got it. They managed to do it. You just have to, bit more kind of juggling of timetables with a couple of shared sets. But you can, if you decide, you know what, this is going to really improve our science, let's kind of prioritize the technology in that direction. And then remember that there are, there's the online version, which basically does all the same stuff. And there's even collaboration, I think. So if you're more like a web Chromey kind of school, then this is a great app as well. We'll come to questions in a second. So think about training your teachers. So it is an easy app to use in many ways. And so in a sense, just a kind of a session like this could really help develop teacher confidence. But if they're really familiar with how Book Creator works, it just helps in the classroom. They know what they're going to do, and they feel like they're at least a couple of steps ahead of the kids if they kind of get stuck or if there's questions. But teacher training is always key. Important to help your children develop. So as Naomi was saying, just start with a few features and then build. So how did you say you would often do it in year one?
Originally, when we started, sometimes I would give them a picture already preloaded and get them to do a title first, and then the next week they'd do a title and a picture themselves after modelling it, and slowly building it up that way, with also the expectation of me making myself making a book alongside them and talking it through, and just be prepared for lots of hands up at the start, but take it slowly, and they pick it up really quickly.
So as time goes on, do give feedback to students on their design and layout. So sometimes it's useful just to, if they send a PDF to the teacher can kind of think, well, you know what, actually that pitch is too small, or what's going on this page, there's no like labels. So it's teaching students the kind of principles of good design for how you lay out these things.
It's always with that.
Helpful to give a template as well. So send them a document first.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with the when they learn how to change the font, you'll find that they all want to put it in symbols and really funky writing. And if you ask them how to read it back to you, they soon realise that it's not a suitable text to have in their book.
But you've got to learn that. You've got to learn that the hard way. There's a couple of questions coming in. Let's answer these now. So, capture other learning from working scientifically, recording close observations with drawings, recording, presenting data in tables and graphs. So in a sense, if you're wanting to put this stuff in Book Creator, so it's collating, do a drawing on a piece of paper and just take a photo. That could be one way. Don't forget, there's like things like the Notes app. So if they do have styluses, Apple Pencils, you can just draw away, and there's some lovely kind of drawing tools. So you could do a nice drawing, and then when you're done, you can literally share that. And I'm going to send it to Book Creator. It's not a great drawing. So I'm going to go back to Book Creator, in my little book here. Let's go at the blank page. And then if I tap on the add button here, there's a little shared thing that appears. And so I've actually sent that image. So I did the drawing in an app that's got better drawing tools, and I can import it there. The same would be for something like a table. So you could use the Numbers app or Excel or even Google Sheets to create a table, but there's also a tables app in Notes. So plant type height, so you're doing tomatoes versus whatever. So there's some data, and to share that, I could just literally take a screenshot. Sorry. So to take a screenshot, home button and a sleep wake button, and the screen flashes, and I could just trim that down just to the size of the table. Look at that, and it even snaps to the edges. How handy. And I'm going to send that to Book Creator, and then I go to Book Creator. Oh, that's not Book Creator. Here we go. And then I can just add that image. So I can. So Book Creator doesn't have the options. We seem to have lost connection. Just gonna,
Frozen on the, there we go.
let's try that again, one more time. Was it working? Hello, there we go, we're back in the room. Okay, so there I've added that table into, let's get my chat back. Okay, so yeah, you could include, so you might have to use, so definitely we've seen teachers use a whole range of other apps that might really suit a lesson, and then they can bring that into Book Creator as a way of collating it. So it's not that you have to do everything in Book Creator. There's also a question to come in, if you save as a PDF, are you able to interact with sound and videos? No. So that's something to kind of bear in mind, that videos and sound get flattened out, but it's a way that you can share kind of the feel of it with people. Another thing to think about is video, that less is more. So given half a chance, children will happily live stream their investigations. So you have like 20-minute long of this is me with my whatever I'm doing in sand, and then it's like, yep, you might get, you know, 1 million likes on YouTube, but actually it's going to be an enormous file to kind of move around. And actually it's teaching students to capture the key moments. What's the most important part? Or if it's a long process, you know, do a time-lapse video, so it speeds it up. It's just making those books a manageable size, which is important. And lastly is just think about your learning platform. So whatever you're using to manage your digital learning. So we use Shobi at Heronsgate, but maybe using Google Classroom or Teams or a bajillion of them out there, that some of them are able to kind of read EPUB files natively. So Shobi, if you send an EPUB file, you're able to kind of browse it through with like the book turning effect, etc. But maybe a PDF is better. A way to kind of share and store books. And yeah, as I showed earlier, the website allows for publishing of books as well. So those are just a few thoughts of how to kind of make it work in your school. So at this point, an opportunity, if you've got anyone got any more questions, do post them now. Either use the chat function or the Q&A. Just a few more seconds. Anyone got any questions? Oh, someone's posting the Q&A, amazing. So how much is the app? That is a good question. So that's actually a really good question. So let's have a look at Book Creator's website. So basically, that is on the App Store. There is an app called Book Creator 1 that's free, that lets you make one book, which is handy. But you might want more than one, and so you have to pay. So I think pricing, yeah, if you do kind of via the website, there's ways that you kind of have to pay for an account. But on the App Store, I think it's like £4.99 in British pounds. And if you're buying, let's actually check. Let's go to the App Store. If you're using volume purchase, so you buy more than 20 apps, you get it at half price. There we go. Oh, it's not going to tell me because I've already got the book. Okay, sorry, $4.99, I'm pretty sure. And then you get half price, and you don't have to pay VAT if you do the volume purchase. So it's not cheap, but it's not very expensive either. Good. So, question: what do you think you've learned today? What's been the most helpful? And then I might be inviting you if anyone wants to kind of share a bit further. That would be really useful. But in the chat, if you want to just post anything about what you found, you kind of learned or taken away from today's webinar, it's always helpful to kind of reflect on a learning process. Oh, so good. Stacey's excited to give it a go. It's good fun. Very good. And if anyone wants to kind of share any thoughts or observations, do press the hands up button, and then we can actually let you have a talk. So Gillian's got another question. How easy is to transfer images and tables created in other apps? Oh yes, so yes, that's good to know. It is easy. You can just transfer stuff across. Yeah, app smashing is the way forward. You can't do it in one app, do it in another one. Brilliant. Okay. So that's all from us. So we've got some more webinars coming up. We're kind of doing these every other week, which is a bit crazy really, but fine. It's good for everyone. So the next one is about using the Pages app on iPad to make posters on other kinds of documents. We're looking at Explain Everything after that, which is an app we use, kind of a whiteboard screencasting app we use all the time. And then Keynote, which is basically like a PowerPoint. So if you want to book into them, please visit the website. I'm sure I will send out a link to our page to if you want to book in with any more of them. But thank you very much for coming today, for spending some of your time listening to us. And if you are interested in some support, you have to be in England. I know there's a couple of people from outside of England joining these webinars, which is totally fine, by the way. But if you are in England and you are in a state school, then please do register with the EdTech Demonstrator Program for some ongoing support. And thank you very much. So thank you. So thank you very much everyone for joining, and hopefully see you on a future webinar. Great.